Hey guys, hoping all's well with everyone. So in this video we're going to be continuing our read-along of the Crime Traveler's Adventure Series, Book 1, Brainwashed. Last time we completed Chapter 23, so we'll be starting today with Chapter 24. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the read today. Chapter 24, Hostel. With Gini sitting on his shoulders, Lucas left the metro and marched on, knowing that he was doing the right thing. He passed the famous red windmill at the Moulin Rouge and headed into the neighborhood. The farther he went up, the more the neighborhood went down. The near midday sun baked bags of trash that had been ripped to shreds by dogs. Broken wine bottles and half-burnt cigarette butts littered the cobblestone street. Block after block, graffiti tagged the doors of nameless concrete buildings. Lucas followed his instincts and moved quickly up the street. He turned another corner and spotted a charred car smoldering on the curb. This was it. Across the street and sitting on the stoop of a dilapidated building was a group of Curukians. In all the commotion, Lucas's internal compass had still brought him to the very spot where he needed to be. "Curukians," he said to Gini. "Cookies," Gini repeated. Lucas laughed. Gini hiccuped. He thought Gini was so much easier to talk to than Astrid, or any girl for that matter, but he was also sure he needed to get her something to eat or drink. "I don't want to be stupid, Gini, but if I just walk up there, they won't know who I am. Will they? I could just pretend I'm lost and ask directions and check things out that way." "Stupid." "Stupid?" Lucas said. "Did you just call me stupid?" Lucas smelled stale smoke. Cigarettes. He turned around, and there they were, corralling him in. It was strange to see that these boys up close, with their thin and scrawny arms and tattooed hands. The mustaches that they wore were shaped more like crescent moons of dried chocolate milk than actual hair. They seemed particularly bothered by Gini sitting on Lucas's shoulders. "We're lost," Lucas said. "Can you help us get to the nearest bookshop?" "Bookshop?" The boys laughed. "We don't read," said a boy with a tattoo on his face. At the back of this group of maybe a dozen boys, Lucas spotted the boy who had been in the van at the Globe Hotel, the one with the scar on his neck. Lucas pretended not to notice. The other boy Lucas recognized from the van spoke up. "Maybe," he said, "maybe you want to ride the good bus with us." Gini mumbled, "Puffball." Gini's voice freaked the boys out, and all they took in was a step back. The boy with the scar said, "Let's take him in with the others." The lobby was stale and dark. An old run-down hotel with broken lights and pieces of furniture scattered about. The boy with the scar led the group, and he shoved Lucas and Gini up the stairs. Lucas started cataloging. The banister was missing almost half of its wooden posts. He considered using the broken handrail to fight, but there were too many boys and too few railings. At the third floor, a huge dog chained to the wall clawed at the door. The mastiff went wild with barking as they walked past. Lucas remembered Hervé's warning. "You have to watch out for Lele." Hervé must have meant, "That dog that will eat you alive." How quickly things had gone wrong. He needed the two double agents, the boys he recognized, to help him. The good company, Lucas thought. Think opposite. He had to help them help him. Lucas knew there was only one thing they had in common with all of these boys. Soccer. Lucas had watched every game of the last World Cup, but he certainly didn't know every player on every team. He didn't know the goalie for Team France or how well the guy played. But Lucas did know that the boys would have either something to say about the goalie, or they would make something up just so they wouldn't get left out of the conversation. It was a guy thing. From the landing between the third and fourth floors, Lucas spotted a sign for the roof access. Now was the time. Lucas looked at the boy with the scar and hoped he would help. Lucas said, "What's the deal with France's goalie?" The arguments lit like fire. Talking over one another, each boy gave his opinion on France's goalie. It was a perfect diversion. The boy with the scar on his neck stopped the group on the staircase, and the boys yelled their opinions. "He's great," Lucas heard one of the boys say. Another said, "He stinks." "What about the time when he—" The boys went at it, arguing and pushing each other down the stairs. Holding Gini tightly, Lucas slipped, unnoticed, up to the 4th floor, opened the access to the roof, and locked the door behind him. Chapter 25. A Meeting of the Minds. Lucas Beans stood at the edge of the hostel's roof, staring down 5 floors of the junkyard behind the Curukian safe house. The 14-year-old pulled Gini close to his side. If his sister and friends were actually in this hostel, he couldn't possibly leave them behind. "Think before you act," Lucas muttered Coach Creed's words as he searched for a solution. A few gutters and downspouts looked promising, but with Gini it would be too dangerous to climb. On the rooftop there were several air vents, a skylight, and an old TV antenna. Attached to the antenna was a clump of cable. Lucas nodded a quick idea. Without a carabiner or harness, he would have a hard time rappelling from the roof. He put Gini on the gravel rooftop, and she poured handfuls of pebbles on her legs. Lucas knelt and started weaving pieces of the cable together using sheet bends. He tied a series of butterfly knots into the main line, making loops that he could use as rungs of a ladder. He hitched one end of the cable to a solid pipe on the chimney and tossed both ends over the edge. The cable landed exactly where he wanted, directly outside the room where the dog was barking. Lucas unraveled Gini's polka-dotted headdress and tied the baby to his chest with the fabric. He then tested the cable's strength. They weren't the best knots he had ever tied, but he wouldn't need them for long. 2 floors. With Gini clinging to them, he stepped over the building's edge. Lucas's heart skipped a beat as he set one foot after another onto the butterfly loops. As the 4th floor, he looked into the window. Nobody. He could hear trains leaving the nearby station and someone knocking on the wood. As he lowered himself into the next loop, he heard the door to the rooftop stairwell fly off its hinges and skitter across the gravel. Then he heard a familiar sound. A tiny bell ringing. He looked into the next window. Inside, Nalini was pacing. The bracelet bells, Lucas thought. They sounded like the one his adopted mother had given him. Strange. Why haven't I made this connection before? The cable slipped. Lucas clawed at the window. He planted his feet on the sill and put his face up to the glass, his hand blocking the glare. Sitting on the bunk beds were Travis and Astrid. Nalini spotted Lucas and Gini outside the glass. She pointed and covered her mouth. Lucas signaled with his hand to back up. Then he bounced his shoes off the wall and swung out wide. He tensed up and swooped in toward the glass. His shoes hit the window's frame, and the pane shot through his hips and up his spine. But the blow snapped the old frame from the building. The whole window, glass and all, crashed onto the floor. Part of him was glad that he didn't have to break through the pane. It wasn't sugar glass. On the roof, a clump of Curukians was now tugging on the line. Lucas stepped onto the sill and into the room. He grabbed the other end of the cable. "Double half-hitch," he said, and yanked on the cord. The cable unfurled and fell onto the ground. Travis looked at Lucas and said, "Double half-hitch? Slipped?" "What are you doing?" Astrid asked, staring at her brother. "What does it look like?" "Lucas," Nalini said in her soft Indian accent, "are you okay?" Lucas handed Gini to Nalini as he moved from the pile of broken window glass and sat on one of the beds. He checked his arms for shards and splinters of wood, but found none. "Yeah," he said. "I'm okay." "I can't believe it," said Nalini, now holding the baby. "Lucas with the baby Gini." Travis didn't say anything. He just kept looking back and forth from the broken window to the floor, where the dog was barking wildly. The ceiling light shed a dull yellow glow into the hostel's sleeping quarters. Shoved against the wall were 6 bunk beds with wool blankets. Jackknife and Astrid's housekeeping uniforms were on the floor next to a full ashtray. A computer in the corner cycled through its screensaver of pictures of Ciba Guarnero. On the wall, a wooden sign read, "Never forget. Raffish, Curuk." Lucas stood up and almost hit his head on top of the bunk. "How did you get here?" Nalini explained. "Robbie sent Travis and me to the Abri Cafe, where the Curukian boys thought we were the two of you." "As if," said Travis, flipping his long blonde hair to the side. Nalini went to finish the story. "They threw us in this black Citroen car." Travis cut her off. "Wait," he said. "That car was a piece of junk, and the reason they threw us in the car in the first place was because Nalini had just broken 5 Curukian noses." "What?" Lucas said. "Yeah," Travis finished. 5 Curukians surrounded us, and then Nalini went nuts on them, kicking them all in the face. I had to crouch so that she wouldn't hit me. There was blood everywhere. Then like 10 guys threw us in a car. They nearly broke my arm, and they stole our phones, too. Astrid moved a piece of glass with her foot. "So how did you find us?" Lucas explained. "Coach Creed told me that you were all being held by Miss Guarnero because she wanted us smart kids," he said. "And the Curukian safe house near the Sacred Heart was the closest." "Lucky guess," said Astrid. Travis smiled. "When you're lucky all the time like Lucas," he said, "it's not luck." There was a pause as the foursome tried to shape what to do next. Lucas had figured out where his friends were, but hadn't really planned what to do once he found them. He looked at Nalini and Travis. "I thought you two were staying on the airplane," said Lucas, confused. Travis shook his head. "We were until the fire shut down most of our communications." Nalini adjusted the baby on her hip. "But then Kerala went missing, and Robbie sent us to find out what was going on." Astrid scoffed. "That girl's always missing." Travis added, "I wouldn't be surprised if she's doing good work." Wait, said Lucas. He fired off a round of questions. "If we're all okay, then why is Coach Creed aborting the mission? And where's Hervé? And where's Jackknife? And..." Nalini waved her hand slightly, and the bells on her bracelet rang. "Let's slow down," she said. "Shall we?" The Indian girl's accent had such a calming effect that Lucas finally understood why his dad sent her out with so many groups. It was like yoga. Nalini didn't talk that much, and she never gossiped, but she had a way of keeping everyone focused on the work they had to do, and the bells were magical. Astrid's looked like something had desperately gone wrong. "We don't know where anybody else is, except Jackknife." "What's the deal with him?" Lucas asked. He looked around the room. "Where is he?" Nalini's eyes watered, and Travis hung his head. "They took Jackknife to the ceremony," said Astrid. The way Astrid said ceremony scared Lucas to death. He knew exactly what ceremony they were talking about, but he was hoping for a different answer. "Coach was right," Lucas said. "It's B-Day." And I'll stop the video there, ending chapter 25. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, guys, take good care of yourselves and be safe, and I'll look forward to seeing you in our next continuation of these Crime Travelers Adventure series. But as always, guys, hope to see you soon, and thank you so much. Bye.